Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. I'm a little late this week. I started a new sort of endeavor, and so I am running late. Apologize for that. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the news. Okay, the big thing this week is the announcement of a Munchkin collectible card game. Now, a lot of you may or may not have heard of Munchkin. It is a very polarizing title. Some people love it, some people despise it. There's no denying it remains a top seller in the game industry, whether we like it or not. I'm sure those of us who like the new and shiny might hope that it's something different, but it's not. Munchkin has been very popular and very popular in that it's been a high-selling title. This collectible game is an interesting thing because it's totally not an obvious match. And yet, looking at it, it appears like it actually could be the real deal. I'm going to check that out in a couple weeks and see. But if those are interested and you're out in game stores and Munchkin is something of interest to you, you might check out the collectible card game, realizing that as a collectible card game, you are in for an inch and in for a mile most of the time. But yeah, check it out. That's really all the news we have on this front. Conventions are continuing all over the map, etc., etc. But right now, that's about it for the news. Kind of a quiet week for me. Anyway, let's get to our question of the week. One question I've had that has come up is, do you use this Kickstarter thing? Usually by people that are like, meh, I play games here and there, but I've heard of it, whatever. I have really generally been successfully a participant in kickstarting board games. Now, I caveat because there are a lot of things I wouldn't kickstart. I would probably never kickstart a video game. The success record on those is incredibly low, really, and because I know a lot about game development, I know that it's really not... There are a lot of factors. Board gaming is more natural. There's a natural, kinetic, tangible, physical output that you can expect. Video games, there's been success stories, but relatively few in comparison. Board games, yes, I do use them for things that make sense. There are a lot of resources now that are here that weren't in the past to kind of really investigate Kickstarter. For those of you who don't know, Kickstarter is a website where you pledge money, and then someone promises to use that money to do what they say they're going to do. Obviously, it's risky, very risky. Have I ever been burned by it? A couple times. I've been burned once, badly once. There was a game that just took years and years to arrive, and the group that was doing it was very deceitful about the state of it. But fortunately, those have been exceptions to the rule. In general, what I see a lot of games that come around. I mean, Grim Forest I showed you a couple weeks ago. Kickstarter couldn't have been possible without it. A lot of people, if you do your research, you're going to see, okay, this generally, especially if you pick designers who've done it before, you're probably in good stead. Always going to be delays. I have yet to see any game arrive on time. That's just the nature of it. But I have also, like I said, with relatively few exceptions, been able to know that a game, it will eventually get here in the state that it says it's going to be. So I wouldn't be afraid of Kickstarter. I would just do homework. You can always check with your friends, or I'll be your friend, and say, hey, like, is this any good? Does it seem like this company's legit? Whatever. So that's the long and short of it as far as the question of the week. Don't be afraid of it, but do your homework before doing Kickstarter-based games that are being backed. A lot of gems, a lot of jewels out there for gaming, and it's ramping up as far as participants on the game creation side. So with that, let's get to our 3 games of the week. First is a new game called Explorers of the North Sea. It's a game for 1 to 4 players, which the 1-player part intrigues me. It's sort of an exploration game where you're going around and grabbing resources off of islands, etc., etc. It's not like Champions of Midgard with this whole, like, oh, I fight for glory. It's definitely not Blood Rage, where it's I fight and die for glory. Interested to check it out. I haven't actually taken a look at it yet. On the subject of Munchkin, for our second game. If you haven't checked out Smash Up, it's an interesting and lighthearted game where you combine all kinds of themes together and creating these odd juxtapositions of pairs of zombies and pirates, or cute princesses and aardvarks and whatever. Munchkin is a very, very separate game. I personally wouldn't play with other Smash Up boxes with this, but I actually found it very entertaining, much more than I thought I was going to. And finally, there's an oldie but goodie called Morals. For those of you who like them. Kidding. Anyway, it's about mushrooms, so those of you who are heavily into shrooms, this is an okay game. I played it, the artwork was clever, it was touted as a great two-player game, and I would say it's a two-player game. One thing I don't like in games that I realized was going to be in our next segment. Wait for that. But anyway, it's an okay game. I probably won't keep it, but I wouldn't kick it out of the house on short notice either. So with that, let's get to Tim's Tantrum. Okay, here's my tantrum. Getting back to the game of Morals. I don't like games where you have to shift entire sets of cards every player's turn. In Morals, it doesn't seem... It's really... Yes, it's a game, it's a big deal, but every time you do something, every turn, you have to move cards on a conveyor belt, move them over, place a card, move them over, place a card. I get that sometimes it's necessary, and there are games where I just put up with it because the game itself is so good, but I don't like games where, I just don't like games where you have to do, like, physical spatial movement of a bunch of pieces every single turn. Like, moving over, and there are games like that. They're just like, I get it. Century Spice Road is a game I really like, and I'm willing to put up with it to a degree, but I wish there was a different way. And there's actually there's a variant on here that makes it sort of circular, so you don't have to do that. But if you have to come up with a variant, then obviously I'm not the only one who thinks it's annoying to have to rearrange cards every turn. There's gotta be a different way. Maybe we all just ain't too smart yet and can't figure it out, but someone will. And that's my tantrum. And with that, let's call it wraps, except for Picture of the Week. Let me know what picture of game this is, and I might mention you in the comments. Won't that be a reward worth cherishing? Anyway, thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.